This is Jason Arday, who committed suicide recently. I'll put a link to my previous article about this scammer. Edward Dutton kind of predicted this in a vlog of August 4th. He said that Arday would be having suicidal ideations. Let me say first and foremost that I'm not glad this guy's dead. I would much rather he was still alive and subjected to ridicule for the next 5-10 years, the same way David Icke was. They're still laughing at David Icke, though not quite so loud. But Icke isn't a scammer. He's someone who draws unwarranted conclusions from insufficient evidence, although he does get quite a lot of stuff right. Arday was simply a scammer. End of. And yet he's being portrayed by the usual suspects as a victim. This is actually an update of an earlier article about Arday. I'll put a link to this below. You'll find the original version at the Internet Archive. I'll put a link to that as well. Why not? And a statement from his family said, the campaign of misinformation was too much for Jason, who was a gentleman who always wanted to see the best in everyone. Well, again, I'm not glad he's dead, but the only people who should weep for him are his family and his friends. And some, indeed many of those friends, might like to reassess their friendship because, he lied and lied and lied to them. Okay, we lie to our friends, we lie to our family, we lie to everybody. But there's lies and there's lies. And this racist witch hunt garbage. Guns have been out for him as soon as the elite university made Arday one of the youngest black professors in Britain. Really? Really? But Cambridge was at the heart of the racist witch hunt against Arday. Since when? It goes on, the university still runs on hypocrisy and racism. Oh my God. Jesus College, where Arday taught, still displays a plaque in the chapel celebrating the slave trader Tobias Rustat. This is in spite of a campaign to remove it 4 years ago. Tobias Rustat died in 1694. He wasn't a slave trader, he was a businessman who held a position in a slave trading company. By the same token, there are business people who hold shares in, cigarette factories, weapons manufacturers. He was a man of his time. And he was also a philanthropist. He donated a lot of money to various causes. But leaving that aside, so what? The article goes on. He said resigning was the only way to end the relentless allegations that his academic achievements were faked. What achievements? What freaking achievements? He plagiarised most of his stuff. That which he didn't plagiarise was drivel. Absolute drivel, and the ludicrous lies he told about his marathon running achievements, his fundraising achievements, the claim that he'd been non-verbal to the age of 11, and absolutely ludicrous stuff. He was a pathological liar, pseudologica fantastica, whatever you want to call it, a pathological liar, and we're supposed to blame racism for this. There are people who are witch hunted. We've seen this a lot of the time with recently with celebrities who have been the victim of witch hunts by the sexual grievance industry, by women and at times men who've made stuff up. Harvey Procter, one of those victims. Procter is a homosexual, an out homosexual. Not that he wanted to be outed in the first place, but he was accused of all sorts of ludicrous stuff, and that was a witch hunt. We've seen witch hunts of politicians. Donald Trump, look at the harassment and hatred and vitriol that's been poured on this guy, who didn't enter politics till he was nearly 70. could have been enjoying his retirement. And instead, look what they put him through. Nigel Farage, look at the way they witch hunted him. And Anne Widdecombe, whose murder was, well, celebrated by the far left. You know? This idea that Arday was a victim. No, he wasn't a victim. And if you still think he was some sort of little angel, bear in mind this was the man who set libel lawyers on an academic who asked him questions, and the police on a journalist who did the same. Arday knew exactly what he was doing. He was a scammer and a con artist of gargantuan proportions. Another article is called How White Academics Are Protected by a Racist System. Really? There's a lot of guff here about sexual harassment. Jason Arday was hounded to death. But this is all garbage. Right-wing people are not to blame for... The media is not to blame. No, quite right. He was the ultimate diversity hire. And just unbelievable. So don't weep for Jason Arday. Let his family do that. I've no doubt that an honest prosecutor could have found a case for prosecuting him for obtaining a pecuniary advantage. So, yeah, it's a tragedy, but it's a tragedy only for him and his family, and for those people who are still gullible enough to call him a friend. I'll leave you all with an afterthought from America's leading black race realist. This is what ACT Nation thinks of Jason Arday, and especially of the white liberals who continue to support him.
White people are dumb, man. White people believe anything, man. Jason Arday is he's that scholar, professor that plagiarized his whole fucking life. And white people believed that shit. He was a genius, and it made him a fucking... White people are stupid, man. White people are dumb.